Hi guys, imagine a single pair of footsteps pressing into sand at dawn, each step carrying curiosity farther than fear. Tonight's story begins with a man who did not know where the road would end, only that it was calling. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Maybe it's evening in the US, early morning in Europe, or a quiet afternoon somewhere else in the world. Let your shoulders soften, let your breathing slow, and allow the day to gently drift away. When you're ready, follow me back to the path where this journey begins. The city was still half asleep when he closed the door behind him. Morning light hovered like a promise, pale and tender, touching the edges of rooftops and the tips of palms. In the hush before the world stirred, Ibn Battuta stood with his bundle of belongings listening to the soft rhythm of his own breath. The air carried the faint scent of dust and salt, of bread baking somewhere unseen, of journeys whispered into being long before they are understood. He was young enough to feel the pull of wonder, without yet knowing its cost, and old enough to sense that staying would leave something unfinished inside him. The road ahead curved gently, as if inviting rather than demanding. He took a step, then another, feeling the earth answer him with quiet certainty. Each footfall settled into the ground, steady and patient, as though the land itself had been waiting. As the sun lifted, warmth spread across his shoulders. Sounds began to return, a distant call, the shuffle of carts, the soft murmur of a city waking. With every breath the familiar loosened its hold. He carried questions instead of maps, trust instead of certainty. Somewhere far beyond the horizon were deserts that breathed at night, seas that mirrored the sky, and cities whose names he did not yet know. Yet in this first hour, the journey was small and intimate. A man, a road, and the courage to keep walking. The world did not rush him, it unfolded. Hope moved beside him like a quiet companion, and even the struggle ahead felt softened by the promise of learning, of seeing, of becoming more than he was when he left his door behind. The path shimmered gently, and with a calm heart he followed it onward. The road stretched wider as the city faded behind him, its sounds thinning until only the soft scrape of sandals against earth remained. Dust lifted gently with each step, hanging in the air like a memory before settling back down. The land felt open here, breathing slowly as if inviting patience. He walked without hurry, letting the rhythm of movement smooth his thoughts into something simple and steady. Morning warmed into late light. Shadows shortened, then shifted, teaching him how time could be read without clocks or bells. He learned the language of the road in small ways, how the ground hardened near wells, how birds circled where water waited below, how silence itself could signal both peace and caution. The farther he went, the lighter his heart felt, even as his bundle pressed into his shoulder. By midday the heat wrapped around him like a heavy cloak. He paused beneath a low tree, its leaves whispering softly above his head. He drank slowly, savoring each swallow, listening to the quiet hum of insects and the distant wind shaping dunes beyond sight. Rest was not an interruption to the journey. It was part of it, a gentle reminder that endurance grows best when treated kindly. As he rose again, the road curved toward the horizon, carrying with it the promise of strangers yet to be met and stories not yet told. Fatigue came, but it arrived calmly without fear. He welcomed it as proof that he was moving forward. With measured steps and an open spirit, he returned to the path, allowing the world to guide him 1 mile at a time. By late afternoon, the sky softened into warmer tones, and the road began to echo with distant movement. Low voices drifted on the air, followed by the gentle clink of metal and the patient breathing of animals. A caravan emerged slowly, as if shaped from the light itself, travelers bound together by shared direction and unspoken trust. He approached without haste, offering a calm greeting that was met with nods and tired smiles. Faces weathered by sun and wind welcomed him into their circle. As they walked together, the road felt less solitary, its long silence replaced by the steady presence of others who understood the quiet weight of distance. No one asked many questions. On the road, purpose often speaks for itself. When evening settled, they made camp beneath an open sky. A small fire flickered, its glow warming hands and softening expressions. Simple food was shared, each bite carrying gratitude rather than indulgence. Stories moved slowly from one traveler to another, not told to impress, but to remember, to pass time gently until night fully arrived. Above them, stars appeared one by one, bright and patient. He lay back against the earth, listening to the fire crackle and the low murmur of conversation fading into rest. The road had already begun to teach him something important, that even long journeys are carried more easily when moments of togetherness are allowed to exist. Wrapped in calm and starlight, sleep found him easily, and the path waited quietly for morning. Dawn arrived without urgency, spreading light across the plain like a slow breath. The caravan stirred gently, a rustle of cloth, the soft stamp of hooves, the quiet clearing of ashes from last night's fire. The air was cool and clean, carrying a freshness that eased tired muscles and settled the mind. He rose with the sun, feeling the ground firm beneath his feet, steady and reassuring. As they set out again, the world seemed wider than before, the horizon stretching farther with every step. Morning shadows walked beside them, long and unhurried, reminding him that time could move slowly and still carry meaning. The plain unfolded in subtle details, grasses bending in the breeze, distant hills softened by light, birds gliding effortlessly above. There was comfort in this simplicity. Walking became a meditation, each step a quiet agreement with the road. Hunger and fatigue existed, but they no longer demanded attention. They simply passed through, like clouds drifting across a calm sky. As the sun climbed higher, the caravan continued onward, leaving only faint traces behind them. He felt a gentle confidence grow, not loud or proud, but steady. The journey no longer felt like something ahead of him. It had become something he was already living, moment by moment, step by step. As the day deepened, the land slowly changed its tone. The open plain gave way to subtle crossings, faint tracks branching off, each one worn smooth by travelers who had passed long before. Some paths curved gently toward distant hills, others disappeared into stretches of quiet emptiness. Standing there, he felt the soft weight of choice, not as pressure, but as possibility. The caravan slowed. This was a place where journeys separated as naturally as they once joined. There was no sadness in it, only understanding. Shared time had served its purpose, and now the road asked each traveler to listen inward again. Calm farewells were exchanged, hands briefly touching in gratitude, eyes holding respect without the need for promises. He chose a path that felt right rather than certain. It led toward land he did not know, and that felt honest. Walking alone once more, he noticed how the silence had changed. It was no longer empty. It was full, rich with thought and awareness. His footsteps sounded clearer now, each one echoing softly in his awareness. The sun tilted westward, painting the earth in warm hues. He walked steadily, trusting that the road would continue to meet him halfway. In this quiet space between what had been and what was yet to come, he felt a deep, settling calm. The world did not rush him forward. It simply opened, one gentle mile at a time. The afternoon stretched wide and unbroken, a calm expanse of time where nothing demanded attention except the steady act of walking. The sky held its pale blue patiently, and the land beneath his feet responded with quiet consistency. Each step pressed into the earth and released again, a simple motion repeated until it felt almost timeless. Silence wrapped around him, not heavy, but gentle. It carried the faint sounds of wind moving over dry ground, of distant birds calling to one another far beyond sight. In this quiet, his thoughts slowed. Memories rose and faded without urgency. Home, familiar faces, the life he had stepped away from, all drifting past like leaves on still water. Hunger came softly, and he answered it with what little he carried, eating slowly, gratefully. The taste was plain but satisfying, grounded in effort rather than comfort. He drank sparingly, aware of how precious each swallow was, and felt respect grow for the balance between need and restraint that the road required. As the sun leaned lower, shadows lengthened again, and the heat eased its grip. Fatigue settled into his legs. But it was a calm tiredness, earned and honest. He welcomed it as part of the journey's quiet rhythm. With the light turning warmer and the world softening around him, he continued onward, knowing that even silence could be a companion when met with patience. As evening approached, the land offered a small mercy. A low stone well appeared beside the road, its presence humble and unannounced, as if it had always been there, and would remain long after he passed. He slowed his steps, feeling gratitude rise quietly within him, warm and steady. The water was cool when he drew it up, catching the last light of the day in brief silver flashes. He drank slowly, letting the chill settle through him, easing the long afternoon from his bones. Around the well, the earth felt different, more compact, more certain, shaped by countless pauses just like his, by travelers who had rested, reflected, and then moved on. He sat nearby as the sun slipped toward the horizon, the sky deepening into shades of amber and soft violet. The world seemed to exhale, crickets began their gentle rhythm, and the air carried the promise of night. In this stillness, he felt neither alone nor accompanied, but something balanced in between, held by the quiet generosity of the land. When darkness finally gathered, he prepared to rest, laying himself down beneath the open sky once more. The road would wait. It always did. With calm thoughts and a heart steady from simple kindnesses, he allowed sleep to come, trusting that tomorrow would unfold as gently as today had ended. The night grew deeper, wrapping the land in a cool, patient hush. Above him the stars spread wide and countless, their light steady and unblinking. He lay still, listening to the world settle, the soft brush of wind, the distant call of something unseen, the quiet rhythm of his own breathing, rising and falling. Sleep came in gentle waves rather than all at once. Between dreams he felt the ground beneath him solid and dependable. The road did not feel far away, even in rest. It seemed to exist inside him now, a quiet line stretching forward, waiting for morning. In the dark, worries felt smaller, softened by the vastness above. He thought briefly of how many nights like this might lie ahead, different skies, unfamiliar lands, the same simple act of resting beneath them all. The thought did not trouble him. Instead, it brought a calm acceptance, a sense that the world was larger than fear and generous with time. As sleep finally settled fully over him, the stars continued their silent watch. The journey paused, not ending, only breathing. And in that pause, strength gathered quietly, ready for the light that would come again. Morning returned softly, as if careful not to disturb the calm of the night just past. Light filtered into the sky in pale layers, easing darkness away rather than chasing it. He stirred, stretching slowly, feeling the gentle stiffness of a body well used and well rested. The air carried a cool clarity that sharpened the senses. Each breath felt new. He gathered his things without haste, moving with the quiet confidence of someone learning to trust routine. The road waited ahead, unchanged yet somehow new, shaped now by all the steps already taken. As he walked, the land revealed small signs of life awakening. Insects tracing delicate paths through dust, birds lifting into the air, the breeze shifting direction with the warming day. He felt part of it, no longer merely passing through, but moving in rhythm with it. There was comfort in this return to motion. Fatigue and uncertainty still existed, but they no longer dominated his thoughts. The journey had begun to teach him patience, that progress did not require speed, only presence. With steady breath and calm focus, he followed the road as it gently opened once more. By late morning the road rose slightly, and from its gentle crest he saw it, a distant city resting against the horizon. Its shape shimmered in the warm air, walls and towers softened by light and distance. The sight stirred something quiet but powerful within him, proof that the road led somewhere, that effort gathered into arrival. As he drew closer, sounds slowly returned, the murmur of voices, the echo of tools, the rhythm of life layered over stone and street. The air changed, too, carrying hints of smoke, spice, and human presence. After days shaped mostly by sky and land, the closeness of others felt both unfamiliar and grounding. He entered the city without ceremony, one traveler among many. Streets curved inward, guiding him through markets where colors and textures blended gently rather than loudly. He walked slowly, observing without hurry, allowing the place to reveal itself in fragments. A smile exchanged, a shared glance, the soft weight of belonging, however brief. As afternoon deepened, he found a quiet corner to rest. The city did not overwhelm him. It embraced him at a pace he could accept. Even here, surrounded by walls and people, the road remained close, humming softly beneath the surface, ready to lead him onward when the time felt right. The city moved at its own unhurried rhythm, and he allowed himself to be carried by it. Stone streets cooled the soles of his feet, holding the night's chill a little longer than the open road. Doorways breathed out quiet lives. The scrape of a broom, the low murmur of conversation, the soft clatter of cups being set down with care. Nothing called for urgency. Everything seemed to say, stay present. He wandered without aim, letting corners choose him. A courtyard opened like a calm breath, its fountain whispering to the air. He paused there, listening, feeling how water softened even the hardest stone. The sound steadied him, smoothing the edges of travel-worn thoughts. Around him, light fell in gentle patches, catching dust motes that drifted and turned, untroubled. When he rested, it was with gratitude rather than relief. The city offered shade and stillness, not as an escape from the road, but as a continuation of it. He ate simply, slowly, tasting the care that went into small things. Hunger eased, and with it came a quiet sense of safety. Temporary, yes, but real in this moment. As evening leaned in, lamps began to glow, one by one, like stars choosing the earth for a while. He felt the familiar pull again, subtle and kind, reminding him that rest and movement were partners. Tonight, the city would hold him. Tomorrow, the road would return. For now, he breathed, unafraid, and let the gentle pulse of this place settle into him. Morning in the city arrived with a softened light, filtered through narrow streets and open windows. He woke rested, not because the journey had ended, but because it had paused with kindness. As he stepped outside, the city seemed to acknowledge him, not with words, but with small, familiar sounds that now felt briefly his own. He prepared to leave without heaviness. Departures, he was learning, did not always need sorrow. Sometimes they were shaped like gratitude. He walked past doorways and corners he had come to recognize, carrying their quiet impressions with him, rather than leaving them behind. Beyond the city's edge, the road resumed its open conversation. The land widened again, offering space and horizon. He felt the subtle shift inside himself, a readiness, calm and grounded. Each place added something unseen but lasting, layering experience gently, without burden. As the city receded, its walls softened into memory. Ahead the path stretched on, patient and inviting. He walked forward with an easier stride, understanding now that journeys are not measured only in distance, but in how deeply they are lived. The land gradually thinned into openness, the earth paling beneath a widening sky. Sand replaced stone, and the road became less defined, guided more by instinct than by markers. The desert did not announce itself loudly. It arrived with a quiet breath, expansive and calm, asking for respect rather than fear. Heat rose slowly, not sharply, and he adjusted his pace to match it. Each step became deliberate, conserving energy, listening closely to the body's subtle signals. The air shimmered ahead, blurring distance and softening edges. Time seemed to stretch here, moments lengthening until they felt almost weightless. Despite the vastness, the desert was not empty. Wind traced gentle patterns across the sand. Tiny movements hinted at life hidden beneath the surface. He felt a growing humility, a calm awareness of being small within something enduring. The thought was not unsettling. It was comforting. As the sun began its descent, the heat loosened its hold. The desert cooled quickly, as if exhaling after a long day. He welcomed the change, feeling gratitude for balance restored. With the sky turning softer by the minute, he continued onward, held by the desert's quiet patience and steady rhythm. The desert asked him to listen with his whole body. He learned to hear the sand, how it shifted underfoot, how it whispered differently when packed by old winds or loosened by recent heat. His steps grew lighter, more attentive, as if he were walking with the land rather than across it. The sun traveled slowly, tracing a wide arc overhead. He adjusted his pace again, resting when the light grew strong, moving when it softened. There was no struggle in this rhythm, only cooperation. Breath followed step, step followed breath, and together they formed a calm, repeating pattern that steadied his thoughts. Occasionally the horizon offered shapes that faded as he approached, mirages that taught patience without disappointment. He accepted them as part of the desert's language, gentle reminders that not everything needs to be reached to be understood. Trust grew quietly, not in what he saw, but in how he responded. As evening approached, the sand cooled beneath his feet, releasing the day's warmth like a memory finally set down. He felt tired, but peaceful, carried forward by the simple promise of continuation. The desert did not hurry him, and he did not hurry himself. Together they moved toward night. Night gathered gently over the desert, and with it came a welcome stillness. The sky deepened into layers of indigo and soft charcoal, while the last warmth of the day lingered faintly in the sand. He chose a simple place to rest, guided by instinct more than sight, trusting the calm of the moment. He settled slowly, careful, and unhurried, allowing his body to ease into stillness. The desert cooled around him, the air crisp and clean, carrying no scent but space itself. Above, stars returned, sharp and countless, their light steady and reassuring. The vastness no longer felt overwhelming. It felt protective, like a wide, patient shelter. Wrapped in quiet, he reflected without effort. The road had already changed him, smoothing the edges of worry, teaching him how little was truly required to move forward. Hardship existed, but it was softened by understanding. Each challenge arrived with its own lesson, and none had come without balance. As sleep approached, the desert held its breath, and he held his. The journey paused once more, not from exhaustion, but from harmony. Tomorrow would ask for movement again. Tonight, rest was enough. The desert woke slowly, as if reluctant to disturb the peace of night. A thin line of pale gold appeared along the horizon, spreading gently until the sand caught its warmth once more. He rose with the light, feeling refreshed in a way that surprised him, rested not only in body, but in spirit. Morning air brushed his skin, cool and forgiving. Each breath felt clear, unburdened. As he walked again, the desert revealed subtle shifts in color and texture, details invisible under the harsher light of day. The sand glowed softly, and the sky stretched wide and open, untroubled by clouds. He moved with quiet confidence now, guided by experience rather than uncertainty. The desert no longer felt like a test, but a teacher, one that spoke softly and expected careful listening. His steps carried purpose without urgency, direction without pressure. As the sun climbed higher, he continued onward, calm and steady. The road ahead remained unseen, but it no longer needed explanation. He trusted the journey to unfold as it always had, one gentle moment at a time. By mid-morning, a soft wind rose, gliding across the desert like a quiet messenger. It cooled his skin and moved the sand in delicate ripples, reshaping the ground without effort or sound. As it passed, he felt as though it carried fragments of other journeys, footsteps long faded, voices softened by time. He walked into the breeze, letting it set the pace. The wind taught him how to lean without resistance, how to accept guidance without surrendering himself. His cloak fluttered gently, and with each step, the desert seemed to breathe alongside him, neither pushing nor pulling, simply present. Thoughts came and went like the wind itself. Some stayed only a moment, others lingered, then drifted away. There was no need to hold on to them. The road had become a place where reflection felt natural, unforced. Even uncertainty felt lighter here, carried off by movement and air. As the day settled into a calm rhythm, he followed the wind's quiet lead, trusting it to fade when it wished. The journey continued, steady and unbroken, shaped by small lessons offered freely to those willing to notice. The horizon stayed just far enough away to remain gentle. No matter how long he walked, it kept its distance, a soft line where earth and sky agreed to meet without ever touching. Instead of frustration, this brought him comfort. It meant there was always more room ahead, more space for the journey to breathe. The desert slowly began to change again. Subtle rises and falls appeared beneath his feet, and the sand darkened in places, firming into ground that held the memory of water long past. He welcomed these changes quietly, recognizing them as signs of movement, of passage toward lands not yet known. His body moved almost on its own now, guided by a rhythm that felt settled and kind. Fatigue still visited, but it no longer stayed long. When he rested, it was brief and meaningful. When he walked, it felt purposeful, without being demanding. Balance had become his companion. As the light shifted toward afternoon, he lifted his eyes once more to the horizon. It neither promised arrival nor denied it. It simply remained, open and patient. With a calm heart and steady steps, he continued forward, allowing the road to reveal itself in its own time. As the afternoon wore on, he noticed faint signs that others had walked here before him, a shallow imprint in the sand, nearly erased by wind, a cluster of stones arranged with quiet intention. These traces did not interrupt the desert's calm. They belonged to it, reminders that even brief lives could leave gentle marks. He paused at one such place, not out of necessity, but respect. Standing still, he felt connected to travelers he would never meet, each carrying their own hopes, fears, and reasons for moving forward. The thought brought comfort rather than loneliness. The road, he realized, was shared across time as much as distance. Continuing on, his steps felt lighter. The knowledge that others had endured, rested, and moved on made the journey feel less solitary. Even when the land seemed empty, it held memory, quiet, patient, and forgiving. As the sun began to soften again, he walked with renewed calm. The desert did not demand that he hurry, only that he remain aware. With every step he carried not just himself, but the understanding that all journeys, however distant, are quietly connected. The light began to change almost without notice. Afternoon loosened its hold, and the desert softened into warmer tones, as if the day itself were growing tired. Shadows lengthened gently, stretching across the sand in calm, unbroken lines. He felt the shift in his body before he fully saw it in the sky. A natural easing, an invitation to slow. His steps became quieter, more deliberate. The heat no longer pressed against him. Instead, a mild coolness drifted in, settling on his skin like a kind reassurance. With the day releasing its intensity, the land seemed to rest alongside him. Even the wind calmed, moving now in small, thoughtful breaths. He found a place where the ground felt steady and familiar, though he had never been there before. Sitting down, he watched the sun descend, its light thinning into gold and amber, then into soft rose. The moment asked for nothing, not reflection, not planning, only presence. As twilight deepened, the world grew hushed again. The journey did not feel paused or ended, only gently held. Tomorrow would bring movement, new terrain, new lessons. But for now, evening wrapped everything in stillness, and that was enough. Darkness settled fully, not suddenly, but like a slow curtain drawn with care. The desert cooled beneath the stars, releasing the last warmth of day in quiet waves. He lay back, eyes tracing the sky as it filled with light, constellations forming patterns that felt both ancient and newly discovered. The night sounds were subtle and reassuring. A faint rustle carried across the sand, the whisper of wind moving gently between unseen shapes. Nothing felt threatening. Everything felt measured, as though the world itself had learned patience and was offering that lesson freely. Sleep came and went lightly. In the spaces between dreams, he felt time stretch and soften. There was no urgency here, no need to measure progress. The journey continued even in rest, shaping him quietly, steadily, without demand. When he finally slept more deeply, it was with trust. Trust in the land, in the road, and in the understanding that not every step needed to be taken while awake. Some distance, he learned, is traveled inward, beneath the calm watch of the night. Morning returned with a softened clarity, as if the night had gently polished the world. Light spread low across the desert, revealing subtle changes: firmer earth beneath the sand, faint grasses catching dew, the suggestion of terrain beginning to rise. He stood and breathed in, sensing that the land ahead would ask for new attention, new listening. Walking resumed with an easy steadiness. The ground responded differently now, offering more certainty beneath each step. His body adjusted without thought, guided by lessons learned over many quiet miles. The rhythm remained slow and kind, unbroken by haste or doubt. The air carried a hint of coolness mixed with promise. Birds appeared briefly, lifting and settling again, as if to mark the passing of morning. He welcomed these small signs not as direction, but as companionship, reminders that movement was shared across countless lives. As the sun climbed, he felt a calm readiness. Whatever the road would become next, he would meet it as he had met everything so far, with patience, awareness, and trust. The journey continued, unfolding gently into its next chapter. The land began to lift itself slowly, almost shyly, into low hills that interrupted the long, level line of the desert. The change was gentle but unmistakable. His steps adjusted naturally, learning a new rhythm as the ground tilted upward and then eased back down again. Effort returned, but it arrived softly, without struggle. From higher ground, the world felt wider. He paused briefly, not from weariness, but to let his eyes rest on the distance behind and ahead. The desert stretched out calmly, holding the memory of his passage, while the hills hinted at landscapes yet to come. Nothing felt rushed. Everything felt earned. The breeze shifted here, cooler and more playful, brushing past him as if curious. He leaned into it slightly, letting it cool his skin and clear his thoughts. The road curved gently around the hills, never forcing a straight line, teaching him again that progress rarely follows the shortest path. As the sun climbed, light and shadow danced across the rising land. He continued forward, breathing steadily, feeling strength build, not through effort alone, but through balance. Each hill passed added quiet confidence, and with it a deeper trust in his ability to keep going wherever the road chose to lead next. The hills slowly revealed patches of stone, smooth and weathered, resting naturally among the earth. Walking here required a bit more care, each step placed with gentle attention. He welcomed this change, feeling how awareness sharpened without becoming tense. The land asked him to be present, and he answered calmly. The sky felt closer somehow, its blue stretching wide above the rising ground. Clouds drifted lazily, unbothered by time or direction. He watched them for a moment, then moved on, carrying their unhurried grace with him. The balance between stone and sky felt steady, reassuring. As he walked, the sound beneath his feet shifted, a soft crunch, a firmer tap, each telling him where to place his weight next. Fatigue brushed against him, but did not stay. His body had learned to listen, to respond before strain could grow. By afternoon, the hills began to ease, opening once more into gentler land. He felt neither relief nor regret at the change, only acceptance. The road flowed as it wished, and he flowed with it, step by careful step. Beyond the last rise, the land dipped into a wide valley, cradled gently between low slopes. The air felt cooler here, heavier with calm. He descended slowly, letting gravity guide him without pulling. Each step carried a sense of being welcomed inward, rather than pushed onward. The valley held a different kind of silence, deeper, softer. Sounds seemed to settle instead of travel. His footsteps echoed faintly and then disappeared, absorbed by earth and distance. He felt protected here, as though the land itself had chosen to shelter whatever passed through. As he crossed the valley floor, small signs of life appeared again. Sparse grasses bent gently, and the ground showed the faint memory of water that might return with the seasons. He paused, breathing deeply, appreciating the quiet resilience held within such places. When he climbed the far side, the effort felt manageable, almost comforting. The valley receded behind him, its stillness lingering within. He carried that calm forward, knowing it would return whenever the road asked him to slow and listen again. By now, the road felt less like a stranger and more like a familiar presence. It seemed to recognize his pace, to rise and fall in quiet agreement with his breath. Though no voice spoke, he felt known, not in a grand way, but in the simple understanding that comes from shared time. His movements grew efficient without becoming hurried. He adjusted to subtle shifts in terrain almost without thought, guided by an awareness shaped through many steady miles. The journey had become a conversation, not a challenge, one where listening mattered as much as moving. Occasionally he smiled to himself, surprised by how calm endurance could feel. The road no longer demanded courage in the way it had at the beginning. Instead, it asked for consistency, for presence, for the willingness to continue even when nothing remarkable seemed to happen. As afternoon light softened once more, he walked on with quiet confidence. The world did not rush him, and he did not rush it. Somewhere ahead, new lands waited. For now, the road carried him forward as gently as a remembered name spoken kindly. The distance no longer felt vast in the way it once had. It had softened, becoming something he understood rather than something he measured. Miles passed quietly beneath his feet, no longer counted, only lived. The road did not shrink, but his relationship with it deepened, and that made all the difference. His body moved with a steady ease, shaped by repetition and trust. Muscles remembered what to do before thought could interfere. Breath found its rhythm naturally, rising and falling like a tide that knew exactly when to return. Even weariness felt gentler now, more like a reminder to care than a signal to stop. The land continued its slow transformations, subtle shifts in color, texture, and light, but none felt disruptive. Change had become expected, even welcomed. Each new stretch of ground felt like a variation on a familiar theme, offering quiet interest without demanding attention. As the day leaned forward, he walked on with calm assurance. Distance no longer stood between him and the journey. It walked beside him, patient and known, unfolding at exactly the pace he was ready to meet. There came a moment when he noticed the space between each step, the brief, weightless pause where one foot lifted and the other had not yet settled. It was there, in that quiet in-between, that the journey felt most gentle. Movement slowed just enough for awareness to widen, and the world seemed to breathe with him. The land lay calm and open, neither asking nor refusing. Light filtered softly across it, warming stone and soil alike. He walked as if each step were being placed into a listening earth, careful not to disturb the peace that had grown around him. Nothing pressed forward. Nothing pulled him back. In this measured pace, thoughts softened, worries thinned until they felt distant and unimportant. What remained was simple presence, the feel of air against skin, the steady rhythm of breath, the quiet certainty that forward was still forward, even when taken slowly. As the sun drifted onward, he continued in this gentle awareness, honoring the pauses as much as the steps themselves. The road did not mind. It seemed to understand that sometimes progress is found not in motion alone, but in the calm moments that hold it together. The air began to shift in subtle ways, bringing with it a hint of moisture and unfamiliar scents. It was not strong enough to announce itself, only enough to suggest that the land ahead would not be the same as the land behind. He noticed it with a quiet curiosity, welcoming change without needing to name it. His steps adjusted once more, guided by instinct refined through long practice. The ground felt slightly firmer now, holding his weight with a different kind of certainty. Even the light seemed altered, softened by something unseen, as if the sky were preparing to tell a new story. He felt no rush to arrive. Whatever waited ahead would come in its own time. The journey had taught him that anticipation did not require tension. It could exist gently, like a breath held comfortably, ready to release when needed. As the day moved on, he followed the changing air with calm trust. The road remained steady beneath him, and his heart remained open. Somewhere beyond this stretch, another chapter waited to unfold, not abruptly, but slowly, just as everything else had. By the time the sun began its gentle descent, the earth beneath his feet had changed again. It held more weight now, more memory. Packed soil mixed with stone, shaped by seasons of passing water and wandering lives. Each step felt answered, grounded, as though the land itself were acknowledging his presence. The air cooled slightly, carrying a softness that eased his breath. He noticed how his body responded without effort, adapting as it always had. What once required attention now came naturally. The journey had settled into him, becoming part of how he moved, how he listened, how he rested. He paused briefly, placing a hand against the ground, feeling its quiet firmness. There was reassurance in this contact, a reminder that the world, though vast and ever-changing, offered steady support when met with respect. He rose again, unhurried, and continued on. As evening drew closer, light and shadow blended into calm harmony. The road ahead remained unseen, but it no longer felt unknown. With a peaceful heart and measured steps, he walked onward, ready for whatever gentle lessons the next stretch would offer. Evening arrived gradually, shaping the world with softer edges. The light thinned into long amber bands that rested on the ground and then slipped away, leaving behind a calm that felt earned. He slowed without deciding to, his body responding naturally to the day's quiet closing. The air held a gentle coolness now, brushing his skin like a reminder to rest soon. Sounds became fewer and farther apart, as if the land were settling into itself. He listened without searching, letting the hush gather around him. There was comfort in knowing that nothing more was required of this moment. He chose a place where the ground felt familiar, neither too open nor too enclosed. As he settled, the last colors of day faded into muted blues and grays. The journey paused again, not as an ending, but as a soft comma, a breath taken before continuing. Wrapped in stillness, he felt gratitude rise quietly. For the road, for the patience it had taught him, for the way each day ended gently when allowed to do so. Night would come fully soon, for now he rested in the calm shape of evening, letting the world grow quiet around him. Night settled fully, calm and unbroken. The sky deepened into quiet blues, and the stars returned, steady and familiar, like companions who had walked many nights beside him. He lay still, feeling the gentle rise and fall of his breath, the ground supporting him without question. Sleep arrived softly, not pulling him away from the journey, but carrying it forward in another form. In dreams the road continued, not as distance, but as feeling, motion without effort, learning without words. The body rested while something deeper kept walking. Between dreams, he sensed the night around him, the cool air, the patient silence, the vastness that no longer felt overwhelming. It felt kind. The world did not demand awareness now. It offered rest as generously as it had offered challenge. As sleep deepened, the road held him gently, as if saying that even stillness belonged to the journey. Tomorrow would come, as it always did. For now, rest was enough, and the night carried him onward in its own quiet way. Morning returned like a careful hand, touching the edges of the world before fully revealing itself. The sky lightened in stages, and the land responded slowly, shadows easing back, colors awakening without urgency. He stirred, feeling rested in a way that felt deeper than sleep alone. As he rose, the air greeted him with cool clarity. Each breath felt clean and grounding. He gathered his belongings with familiar ease, movements shaped by long habit and quiet confidence. The road waited, unchanged yet always new, ready to receive his next steps. Walking again felt natural, almost inevitable. The ground offered steady support, and the light guided him forward without insistence. He noticed how little resistance remained within him. Where once there had been uncertainty, there was now trust, not in the destination, but in the act of continuing. With the sun climbing gently, he followed the road once more, unhurried and present. The journey moved on, not as something ahead of him, but as something he was already inside. Step by calm step, the day unfolded with a generous calm, as if offering its time freely. Light spread evenly across the land, revealing textures he had learned to read with ease, the firmness of the ground, the subtle slope of the path, the way shadows hinted at what lay ahead. Nothing surprised him now, and yet everything felt quietly new. He walked with a steady grace, allowing pauses when they came and movement when it felt right. Hunger was answered gently, thirst respected without urgency. The body spoke in small, clear signals, and he listened without debate. The road approved of this kind attention, meeting him with steadiness rather than resistance. Around him the world seemed to open, not dramatically, but kindly. Space widened, air softened, and the horizon held its patient line. He felt held within the day, rather than passing through it, as though the journey and the present moment had agreed to walk together. As the sun climbed, he continued on, unhurried and attentive. There was no need to hurry toward meaning. It arrived quietly in the act of walking itself. With each step, the day offered another calm invitation forward. There was a strength in him now that did not announce itself. It lived in the steadiness of his steps, in the way he met the road without tension or resistance. The journey had shaped this strength slowly, layering it day by day, mile by mile, until it felt as natural as breathing. The land asked little of him at this hour. It rolled gently, offering neither challenge nor ease, only consistency. He welcomed that. Consistency had become a comfort, a reminder that progress did not always need effort to be real. Sometimes it was enough to simply continue. He noticed how the sun warmed him without tiring him, how the air moved lightly across his face. These small details felt complete on their own. The desire to rush ahead, to measure how far he had gone or how far remained, no longer held him. Distance had lost its power. Presence had taken its place. As he walked on, the road remained patient beneath his feet. It did not promise answers or endings. It offered only itself, open, steady, and waiting, and that was enough. With calm resolve and a peaceful heart, he continued forward, carried by the quiet strength of simply not stopping. As the hours passed, the land opened outward once more, stretching into broad spaces that invited long, unbroken views. The sky felt taller here, its blue deep and reassuring, and the earth seemed to relax beneath it. He walked into this openness with an easy heart, feeling how space itself could be a kind of rest. The breeze moved freely now, unconfined by hills or valleys. It brushed past him gently, carrying faint scents of distant places, soil warmed by sun, grass not yet seen, water hinted at but still far away. These quiet messages stirred curiosity without urgency, reminding him that the world still held countless stories ahead. His thoughts remained calm and spacious, mirroring the land around him. Nothing pressed for attention. Even effort felt softened, spread evenly through his body rather than gathering in one place. Walking had become a form of listening, a way of staying open to whatever the road wished to offer next. As light shifted slowly across the wide ground, he continued onward, unafraid of the vastness. The world felt wide again, not because it was overwhelming, but because it was generous, and within that generosity he found his pace, steady and untroubled, moving forward with quiet trust. By now, calm no longer arrived only during rest. It walked beside him, steady and familiar, matching his pace without effort. Even as the land subtly shifted beneath his feet, this calm remained, not fragile, not forced, but rooted in all the miles already lived. He noticed how challenges no longer felt sharp. When the ground grew uneven, he adjusted. When fatigue whispered, he listened and softened his steps. There was no struggle in these responses, only understanding. The journey had taught him that care was not weakness and patience was not delay. The light of the day grew gentler again, angling low and warm. It touched the land in quiet patterns, and he felt himself part of that design, one moving figure among many enduring shapes. Nothing needed to be proven. Walking itself was enough. As the hours passed, he continued forward with this calm as his companion. It did not speak, but it reminded him, with every breath and every step, that the road was no longer something he traveled alone. It lived within him now, steady and kind. There came a feeling he could not name, not arrival, not ending, but a gentle sense of nearing. The road felt subtly different beneath his feet, not in shape or sound, but in meaning. Each step carried a quiet fullness, as though the journey itself were beginning to look back at him with recognition. The air held a softness that settled easily in his chest. Breathing felt slow and complete. He no longer wondered how far he had come, and he did not ask how far remained. Those questions had loosened their grip, replaced by a calm acceptance of now. The present moment felt wide enough to hold everything. The land remained open and patient, offering no signs, no declarations. And yet he felt a deep understanding rise within him that every road, no matter how long, is shaped as much by attention as by distance. What he had gained could not be measured in miles. As the light leaned gently toward evening once more, he walked on with a peaceful heart. Nearing something unnamed, something quiet and true, he trusted the road to carry him there, just as it always had. The road felt softer now, not beneath his feet, but within his thoughts. Everything he had walked through, the silence, the effort, the waiting, seemed to settle gently inside him, finding its place without resistance. He carried the journey no longer as distance, but as understanding. He noticed how his breath matched the pace of the world around him. Nothing felt out of balance. Even the small aches in his body felt familiar, almost comforting, reminders of movement honestly earned. The land did not ask him to reflect, yet reflection came naturally, calm and unforced. There was a quiet gratitude in this hour, not for reaching something, but for having walked at all, for mornings that arrived softly, for nights that offered rest, for the steady kindness of the road that never turned him away. Struggle had existed, yes, but it had always been met by something equal: patience, learning, hope. As the day drifted onward, he continued at the same gentle pace, knowing that whatever remained ahead would meet him as everything else had. The journey had become part of who he was, settled and steady, ready to carry him into its final unfolding. The light of the day softened into a familiar glow, and he felt a deep, quiet completeness settle over him. Not an ending, not a stopping, but a sense of being exactly where he was meant to be. The road stretched on ahead as it always had, yet it no longer felt like something separate from him. It felt like a part of his own breathing, steady and alive. He slowed, not because he was finished, but because there was no need to hurry anymore. Every place he had passed through lived gently within him now. Deserts and valleys, silence and shelter, effort and rest. The miles had shaped him patiently, turning uncertainty into understanding and movement into meaning. Standing there, he realized the greatest distance he had traveled was not across land or sea, but inward, toward trust, humility, and calm resilience. The unknown no longer felt like something to fear. It felt like an open invitation, endlessly generous. As the sky leaned toward evening once more, he took another step forward, just as he had on the very first morning. The journey continued, not because he needed to prove anything, but because walking itself had become his way of being. And the world, wide and welcoming, walked with him. Thank you for walking this long, quiet road with me. As you rest now, allow the calm of the journey to settle into your breathing, your thoughts, and your body. If this story brought you peace, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment sharing where you're listening from and what time it is there. Let the road fade softly into your dreams, knowing that every journey, like every night, unfolds one gentle step at a time.